Chapter 1579. I don't know what some people are thinking. They actually said that the champion this year isn't you guys, but that carefree team? How can that team made up of 7 random teams be mentioned in the same breath as the Tianshu branch's geniuses? I think those people are all blind. Hearing this, the other members of the Tianshu team all revealed proud and indignant expressions. During this period of time, everyone had been talking about the carefree team and had almost completely forgotten about the Tianshu team. They had always been the focus of everyone's attention and were envied by everyone. When had they ever been ignored like this? Seeing that she had aroused the indignation of the members of the Tianshu team, Ouyang Mingzhu couldn't help but feel proud. She continued, "Also, Yuxing is really something. He was clearly your servant in the past and received so many favors from you. But now he only cares about himself and tramples on your dignity. He's really too bang." Before Ouyang Mingzhu could finish speaking, Ouyang Qing suddenly slammed his wine glass on the table. He turned his head and looked at her with a bone-chilling gaze, as if he wanted to tear her into pieces. The Tri-Academy tournament has always been about strength. Since he's not as good as others, what's there to complain about? There's nothing that can't be said. As he spoke, his gaze swept across everyone around him with a hint of sharpness and gentleness. Furthermore, to me, it doesn't matter if I get first place or if Xiao Shang gets first place. It doesn't matter. Ouyang Mingzhu's face twisted. She twisted the flesh on her thigh to prevent herself from showing a ferocious expression. "Brother, if you face Yuxing in the tournament, will you still go easy on him?" Ouyang Qing looked at her coldly. Just this look alone made Ouyang Mingzhu feel as if she had been seen through. Then, she heard the man say in a resolute voice, "If we really meet in the tournament, I definitely won't go easy on him, because that would be an insult to myself and also to Little Sheng. What he wants has never been my meticulous care for him, but to become stronger together and walk side by side with him in the future." He didn't know this before, so he lost his treasure and spent so many years in repentance, pain, and longing for it. Now that he had finally regained it, he definitely wouldn't let his Little Sheng down again. Ouyang Mingzhu's expression finally broke. "Brother, what are you talking about? Ling Yuxing is a man, and you're also a man. Treating him like that? Aren't you afraid that Daddy will die from anger? Aren't you afraid of being despised by everyone?" Ouyang Qing did not avoid the gazes of the crowd, nor did he care whether his words would be heard or not. So what? It's my freedom to like who I like. A friend who truly understands me would definitely not care about this. As for the gazes of unrelated people, what does that have to do with me? After being stunned for a moment, the members of the W team all revealed carefree expressions. Some even smiled and said that they would support Ouyang Qing. During this period of time, they had already seen Ouyang Qing's affection for Ling Yuxing. Otherwise, why would the number 1 person in the Starry School go to the Alcade branch every day? Chapter 1580. The onlookers were dumbfounded. However, just as someone was about to rebuke them, they were dragged away by the Starry School people to start brainwashing them. 2 handsome guys standing together is so pleasing to the eye. Rather than watching Senior Ouyang being snatched away by some vixen, it's better to watch a handsome young man like Ling Yuxing. Of course, this was all thanks to Mayan's speech at the entrance of the new students, as well as Ouyang Qing's careful and subtle speech, which made the Starry School students so open-minded. As the Fengtian School people were brainwashed, they actually thought, hey, it seems that junior brother Qin Yizhou and senior brother Lu standing together is also very beautiful. Outside the Changle Palace, Mayan looked at Ling Yuxing, who was a little dumbfounded, and chuckled. "Fifth senior brother, this confession is really explicit. Furthermore, those comments should have been spread by Senior Ouyang's people. Senior brother Ouyang has spent a lot of effort to mend his relationship with someone." Ling Yuxing's cheeks were red, and he stammered. Who wants to mend their relationship?" Mayan laughed. "Hey, did I say that someone is you, 5th senior brother?" Ling Yuxing glared at her, then turned around to leave. At this moment, Ouyang Mingzhu, who was unwilling to give up, suddenly looked at Hua Xiangrong. "Junior sister Hua, do you think so too? That Xiaoyao team is so arrogant, and doesn't take your Tianshu team seriously at all." Are you angry? Don't you think it's disgusting for men to be with other men? Ouyang Mingzhu had a good idea. She knew that Hua Xiangrong and the Yinyu Palace were not on good terms with the Xiaoyao school, especially with Jun Mayan. Now that the Xiaorao team had stolen all the limelight from the Tianshu team, and Hua Xiangrong was so competitive, how could she not be angry? Hearing this, Hua Xiangrong raised her eyebrows, and a faint smile appeared on her cold face. I've seen the photographic talisman. The Xiaorao team, especially Jun Mayan, is indeed much stronger than all of us. Since it's a competition, there will naturally be winners and losers. The strong win, and the weak lose. What's there to be angry about? As for men being with other men, she slightly lowers her eyelids, her face revealing a trace of shyness and sweetness. If Jun Mayan really is that person, even if she's a woman, I won't change my mind. Since men and men can be together, women and women can naturally be together too. Hua Xiangrong's last few words were a little vague, but Ouyang Mingzhu heard them clearly, and so did Mu Yin and Ling Yuxing standing at the door. Ouyang Mingzhu's face was distorted, and she was so angry that smoke was coming out of her 7 orifices. However, Ling Yuxing burst out laughing. Junior sister, I think Hua Xiangrong's confession is more explicit and touching. Mayan shudders. Then she turns around and leaves. Damn it. Is this Hua Xiangrong deliberately playing a prank to retaliate against me? In the sleeping quarters of the school of the Emperor Stars team, the dozen or so people watched the match between Team Carefree and Team Mighty Tyrants with solemn expressions. Then, they all looked at Lu Jinhang. Boss, are you sure you can beat Jun Mayan? Lu Jinhang was silent for a long time, and then shook his head. I may not win. Damn, even you can't win, boss. Is this Jun Mayan really the master of the Green Cloud sect, Yiliangshan? Chapter 1581. At the side, Qin Yizhou suddenly said in a low voice, "She is even stronger than half a year ago." Everyone looked at Qin Yizhou in unison. Junior brother, could it be that you know her? Qin Yizhou nodded. Half a year ago, her cultivation was only at the first level of Anidia. I fought with her at the Green Cloud World Sex Selection Competition. First level of Anidia? He reached the peak of Anidia in just half a year? A member of the King team said. However, Junior brother Yizhou, you said that you were already at the 9th level of Anidia a year ago. You should have won the competition back then, right? Unexpectedly, Qin Yizhou lightly shook his head. No, I lost. Moreover, I lost completely. I accept it wholeheartedly. What? How is this possible? Qin Yizhou slowly says. The Jun Mayan that you see now should be far from displaying her full strength. She was able to defeat me because she used her domain during the battle. The pupils of everyone in the Phoenix Heavens Monarchs team, including Lu Jinhang, contracted. Domain? She's so young, but she's already mastered a domain like boss. Seeing Qin Yizhou solemnly nod, everyone had no choice but to convert the shock in their hearts into belief. This junior brother had an old-fashioned personality and outstanding talent. He would never lie. Lu Jinhang suddenly said softly, and I don't think the other members of the Carefree squad have used their full strength. Someone had a panicked expression on his face. Can we really win against such a Carefree team? All of Team Monarch's confidence was dealt a blow. Originally, they were aiming for the championship and looked down on the other teams. But now, it seemed that there was always someone better out there. Qin Yizhou suddenly stood up and said, even if I cannot win, I will definitely do my best. I promise Jun Mayan that when we meet again in the future, I will fight her again. Lu Jinhang also nodded. That's right. We are the kings of Phoenix Heaven. Even if we are not strong enough, we cannot lose our momentum. 3 days later, the 4th round began. The first match was between Star Carefree and Phoenix Heaven Fantasy. Almost as soon as the Carefree team entered the arena, thunderous applause and cheers erupted in the Tai E Square. Carefree team will win. Team Carefree will win. Jun Mayan, show us your heaven-defying strength again. Jun Mayan, Jun Mayan, Jun Mayan. This kind of treatment was even more exaggerated than when the Phoenix Heavenly Warriors team and the Star Divine Pivot team went on stage. The result was completely within everyone's expectations. The Carefree team completely defeated the Phoenix Sky Fantasy team. In this match, Mu Yin assisted the whole time, and there was almost no fighting. However, no one in the fantasy team dared to attack her. They changed their strategy and used the exact opposite of Team Mighty Tyrants. 10 people surrounded the remaining 6 members of the Carefree squad. So what if Junmayan is more powerful? As long as they eliminate the other members of Xiao Yao team first, it would be the same as cutting off her wings. 1 person against 10 people. They don't believe that Mayan could still win. However, reality gave the fantasy team a heavy slap in the face. With Mu Yan's help, the fantasy team's 10 players were completely suppressed against the Carefree team's 6 players. Lung Yuma and Yun Ruhan challenged 3 peak abstinence realm experts by themselves. Just when everyone thought they were going to lose, the 2 of them unleashed their respective domains. The crowd was in an uproar. Chapter 1582. That was a domain. Even in the Purple Cloud realm, there were very few people who could activate their domain before the age of 25. But in this small Carefree team, the team that was predicted to be at the bottom before the competition, there were actually 2 geniuses who had activated their domains. There was no longer any suspense in the match. Team Fantasy lost. Although they did not lose as miserably as Team Mighty Tyrant, they accepted their loss wholeheartedly. They could not feel the slightest bit of unwillingness or resentment. Not to mention Lung Yuma and Yun Ruhan, who had activated their domains. Even the remaining 4 members of the Carefree team, or even the wheelchair-bound Chu Moli, could easily defeat the members of the fantasy team one-on-one. This match is over. After June Mayan, the frightening strength of the other members of the Carefree team has finally been completely displayed in front of everyone. Yun Ruhan's steadiness, Lung Yuma's valiance, Qin Jiu's strength, Ling Yuxing's speed, Luo Yu's control over the puppets, and Chu Mo Li's treacherous and strange strategies and moves. The entire Carefree team did not have any weak support. All of them were powerful combat shoujo. However, they had the strongest support in the entire competition. No one could match them, and no one could shake them. That is June Mayan. With June Mayan as the core, she connects the other 6 to form a perfect closed loop. At this moment, everyone had to admit it. The Carefree team was invincible. As soon as the end of the competition was announced, the female host rushed to the high platform excitedly. I hereby announce that the winner of the first match of the 4th round of the Tri-Academy tournament is the Stardust Carefree team. The Tai Square was immediately filled with earth-shattering cheers. The hosting female cultivator was so excited that she asked loudly without thinking, "Who do you think will be the champion of this Tri-Academy tournament?" Xiao Yao Squad. The champion is Team Xiao Yao. Carefree Squad. Xiao Yao Team. Xiao Yao Squad. The entire sky and ground of Tai Square were almost overturned by the cheers. Even the people from the Fengtian Academy and Spiritual Martial Academy were affected by the atmosphere, and they couldn't help but join in the cheering. The Phoenix Heaven Monarch and Stellar Dubby could only smile bitterly at each other. Before Team Carefree faced Team Fantasy, they still had a sliver of confidence that they could beat Team Carefree. At this moment, he no longer held any hope. This was because the Carefree team had almost no weaknesses. Who would have thought that the weakest assistant in the team would be the strongest and most abnormal June Mayan in the Xiao Yao team? In particular, Team Monarch, who had learned from Qin Yizhou that even June Mayan had a domain, could not muster up any desire to win. In the end, the match between the Phoenix Sky Monarchs and the Stellar Sky Pivot teams ended after a stalemate of 2 hours. The winner was the Phoenix Sky Monarchs team. 3 days later, it would be the 5th round of the Tri-Academy tournament of the Jadewood meet, which was also the final match. The Phoenix Heaven King would fight against Stellar Union Carefree for the championship, while the W team would fight against the Fantasy Illusion team for 3rd place. However, almost everyone believed that there was no doubt who would be the final champion. On the grandstand where the deans of the 3 courtyards were, Xing Danqing shook her head slowly and sighed softly. College Chief Zhai, the Starry School, is truly impressed that the Phoenix Sky Academy is able to nurture a team like the Carefree team. The championship this time is yours. He glanced at Diyu Dao and suddenly asked, Din Zhai, why do you look unhappy? Chapter 1583. Xing Danqing doesn't think too much about it. Withdrawing her gaze, there's a trace of reminiscence in her expression. Din Zhai, do you still remember the scene when we were studying at the three major academies? At that time, it was also the Alcade branch. With a team of 8 people, we finally defeated all the opponents and won. Yao Guang was also a zither master. She could also assist and fight. Of course, the Alcade team at that time wasn't as heaven-defying as the current Carefree team. But Yao Guang's elegance at that time was something that we couldn't forget for a long time. It's just that we don't know why she suddenly disappeared without a trace. Since then, we haven't heard any news of her. I remember that at that time, Yao Guang and you were still from the same sect, right? Diyu Dao clenches his fists tightly, tensing his nerves to prevent himself from showing any abnormalities. I don't remember things from so many years ago. Yeah, it's been so many years. Xing Danqing says with emotion, many people have been forgotten. But you don't have to worry. Now that the Carefree team is shining brightly, many people will remember the glory of the Alcade branch. Maybe the missing Yao Guang will come back when she hears the news. Bang! The thing in Diyu Dao's hand suddenly falls to the ground, his eyes filled with horror. When Xing Danqing looks over in surprise, he quickly pulls out a smile and casually brushes it off. But when Xing Danqing turns her gaze away, Diyu Dao's face immediately contorts, his eyes full of fear and resentment. Suddenly, he remembers the news he received a few days ago and thinks of those famous people who participated in the Qianlin gathering. If this news is handled well, perhaps it can make the Carefree team lose all standing and reputation, and no one would dare to mention it again. On the other side, Li Zuping's expression is gloomy, his eyes shining as he stares at Mayan in the stands. He whispers to the Lan Huahong, sitting on the side, Your Highness, do you remember what I ordered you to do? Lan Huahong licks his lips and looks at Mayan lecherously. You promised that after this is done, you will give this woman to Gu. Of course. Li Zuping coaxes with a smile. This subordinate only wants that zither. As for that woman, after her reputation is ruined and her cultivation is abolished, she will naturally be rewarded to Your Highness. When that time comes, Your Highness can play with her however you want. Hearing Li Zuping's promise, Lan Huahong's eyes shine with excitement. The blood of his whole body seems to boil and converge. Because of this rising desire, the veins on the back of his hand suddenly bulged, and his entire arm suddenly swelled up. Li Zuping was startled. He looked at Lan Feng, who was in front of him, and hurriedly transferred his spiritual energy into Lan Huahong's body to stabilize the changes in his body. Your Highness, please control yourself in front of many people. Li Zuping spoke with a gloomy expression. If Lan Feng notices something unusual and spoils Marquis's plans, then we'll all die a graveless death. Lan Huahong glared at Lan Feng indignantly, gritted his teeth, and said in a low voice, Haven't gotten the soul bead yet? How much longer do I have to endure that old fart Lan Feng? Gu of gu of gu of gu will Lan 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 Lan. Lan Lan of Lan of Lan of Chun Lan 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 of Lan 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 of Lan Huahong Lan 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 of. Chapter 1584. Glory, splendor, wealth, servants, beautiful maids, delicacies, treasures, everything. Everything in this world belonged to him, and his path to imperial power would start from conquering and trampling on that ungrateful woman, Jun Mayan. The 5th round of the Tri-Academy tournament was divided into 2 days. On the first day, the Tianshu team and the fantasy team fought for 3rd place, because only the top 3 were qualified to go to the Dragon Soaring Academy to participate in the exchange. For their own glory, to seize the opportunity, the 2 teams had to go all out. Therefore, this match was even more important than the fight for 1st place, and there was more suspense. Ouyangqing was about to go up when he suddenly heard a familiar voice calling him. He quickly turned around and confirmed that it was the person he had been thinking about day and night. His eyes were full of smiles. "Sheng, are you here to watch my match?" Ling Yuxing turned his head awkwardly. "I'm just looking around. I'm not here to watch your match." Yangqing still smiled foolishly. "Sheng, if I win, I can go to the Dragon Soaring Academy with you. We can still spend a lot of time together." In Ling Yuxing's mind, Yangqing had always been a calm and powerful young master. He had never seen him act so foolishly. She could not help but burst into laughter. "Look at your silly face. We'll talk about it after you win." Yangqing suddenly reached out and pulled the young man's slender body into his arms. "Sheng, I'm so happy. Just you wait, I'll definitely win. You're so strong. I can't be too weak. Otherwise, how can I be worthy of you?" Ling Yuxing blushed and pushed him away. "You're crazy. You're in public." However, when he turned around, he saw the teasing but friendly smiles of the Tianshu team members. He blushed and quickly turned into a shadow and disappeared. On the spectator's stand, Ouyang Mingzhu saw this scene. Her face was twisted, and her eyes were full of murderous intent. Perhaps because of Ling Yuxing's encouragement, Yangqing exerted 200% of his strength in the match. The fantasy team retreated step by step and finally lost without any suspense in Yangqing's realm. Tai Square turned into a sea of joy. This year, the Starry School had won a great victory. In the end, 2 teams entered the finals, and one of them had a 90% chance of winning. This made all the students of the Starry School feel proud and elated in front of the other 2 schools. It was an indescribable joy. Serves you right. Let them brag before the competition, say that Starry School would be at the bottom, and brag about how strong their team was. This time, he was slapped in the face. However, as soon as the competition ended, there was a sudden commotion in the spectator stands where the aristocratic families were seated. Then, the Lu clan, Duan clan, Feng clan, Duan clan, and Nailing clan's patriarchs' expressions changed, and they hurriedly left the grandstand. Lu Ruan, seeing this scene, he could not help but secretly follow them. Although her current cultivation level was not high, she cultivated the bewitching art, so she was far superior to ordinary people in terms of charm and stealth. The clan heads of the 5 great clans were burning with anxiety and panic, so they didn't realize that she was following behind them. Chapter 1585. The others were also very anxious. Madame Duan even cried out, "My Z, who is so cruel to do this to my Z? If I find out, I will definitely tear him into pieces." Sob, sob, sob. Dawn School was a school jointly established by a few major clans. There were not many students, but every single one of them was the treasure of the various clans. Usually, Dawn Academy's security measures were excellent. There were the best tutors to guide the children in their cultivation, and there were also people who took care of their daily needs. There were even dozens of golden core cultivators guarding the academy. That was why the clans were so at ease to let their children study in the school. But now, they were telling him that their treasure had gone missing. "Speak! What is going on?" Lu Junjiang said sternly. "If you can't tell me where Chu Yuan or went, all of you in Dawn School will have your heads chopped off." The person was wearing the uniform of Dawn School. Hearing this, he knelt on the ground and cried, "I'm innocent." It was a few young masters and young mistresses who sneaked out of the school and entered the Danyang mountain range. When we found out, we immediately chased after them. But the Danyang mountain range is too big. We sent everyone to search, but couldn't find them. Later on, they finally found young Master Lu's clothes with much difficulty. At the same time, they caught sight of a few suspicious people. We quickly sent people to chase after them, but the thieves' cultivation was very high, and they were very cunning. They actually escaped to the east of the Danyang mountain range and disappeared. "You're saying that you let the thieves escape?" Lu Junjiang and the others glared at him as if they wanted to tear him into pieces. The person quickly screamed, "We did let the thieves escape, but after a few days of searching, we still found some clues. Beside the tower of Starry School, we found the young master's and young mistress's clothes again. The clothes were stained with blood, so we guessed that the thieves must have escaped into Starry School." Diyu Dao, who was at the side, was shocked when he heard Yi Futian's words. You're saying that the people who kidnapped the young master and the young lady are students of our starry school? He looked at Lu Junjiang and the others in a panic. Clan leaders, that's impossible. The starry school has always had strict rules. Usually, there are school supervisors patrolling and inspecting the various branches. If someone had really entered the Pilyang mountain range to kidnap the young masters and young mistresses, how could they not be discovered by the dean? Please don't misunderstand us. Patriarchs, Lu Junjiang, Duan Xiangyang, Nailan Qing, Murong Bai, and Duan Xiangyang. These 5 clan lords were all ashen. They were like dragons that had their reverse scales touched, ready to kill at any moment. No matter who dared to touch their treasures, they must be killed without mercy. The guard from the Dawn School felt the murderous intent and shouted in panic. But the young master and the young lady's bloody clothes were found in the starry school. Masters, look, this is the blood-stained robe I found beside the Linglong Tower. The bloody clothes were small, and there were only 2 of them. One of them was for a boy, and the other was for a girl. Chapter 1586. Nailan Qing picked up the girl's clothes, his whole body trembling. It's Yin Yin's. This is the defensive clothing I prepared for Yin Yin. My Yin Yin, what did you do to my Yin Yin? In an instant, the leaders of the 5 clans looked at Di Dao together, their eyes filled with ferocity. Di Dao and the leaders of the 5 clans were all nascent soul cultivators, but their status in the azure blue world was much higher than Di Dao's. This was because they had a huge force behind them. In the purple cloud world, the 5 clans had their main families, and there were even tribulation passing experts in the main families. These people from the side families of the azure blue world, if they were talented and their cultivation increased, they could be taken back by the main families. Among the younger generation of the 5 clans, Lu Hongyuan and the others happened to be the most talented. They had planned to train them well and let them achieve great things one day. Who knew that such a thing would happen? How could they not go crazy? Di Dao had to bear the pressure of 5 nascent soul cultivators alone. His face turned pale and his voice trembled slightly. If the clan leaders do not believe me, you can send people to search the various branches of the Starry School. Our school has strict management. The students in the school don't have time to go so far to kidnap the young masters and young mistresses. At this time, a child beside Di Dao suddenly said casually, "The other branches can't, but the Yaoguang branch is different. There are only 7 people in the whole school. There are no tutors or supervisors. No one knows what they do normally. Also, the Yaoguang branch is so big, but there are so few people. If they really hide something, no one will know." Qing Feng, shut up. Don't be presumptuous. The Yaoguang branch is the champion of the Tri-School tournament. How could they do such a thing? Di Dao immediately stopped the child from speaking. He looked at the leaders of the clans nervously. Lu Junjiang's expression immediately turned serious. The Yaoguang branch has no supervision. Is what he said true? Yes, yes. Di Dao wiped the sweat off his forehead. But the people of the Yaoguang branch don't have to do such a thing. Jun Mayan could be the leader of the Qingyan sect, Yi Liangqin. Why would she do such a thing? Young master and young lady's bloody clothes were found near the Linglong Tower. The guard of Dawn Academy immediately shouted, "Since that Jun Mayan is the master of the Azure Sky Academy, she must often go to the Linglong Pagoda. Maybe the bloody clothes were thrown away at that time. Search. Even if I have to turn the entire Starry School upside down, I will find him." Nailan Qing slammed the table. The sturdy mahogany table was instantly smashed into pieces. Especially that Alcade branch. Search it thoroughly for me. I'd like to see who has the guts to touch my precious granddaughter. The faces of the other 4 patriarchs were also filled with killing intent. It was conceivable that if they caught the culprit who kidnapped the child, the culprit would definitely die a horrible death. Di Dao replied with a face full of fear and trepidation, but when he turned his head, he revealed a sinister smile. This time, the Alcade branch wouldn't have a chance to make a comeback. On the roof, Lu Ruoxuan heard all of this, and the corner of her mouth raised into a sly smile. Such an opportunity was truly hard to come by. If Yap Liangshan was Jun Mayan, then this time, she would be able to get rid of these two people that she hated to the bone. Chapter 1587. On the eve of the Tri-Academy Tournament Finals, the entire school of the Emperor's Stars suddenly fell into a tense atmosphere. When they woke up the next morning, the Xiao Yao team was about to go to Tai Square to participate in the final match. However, they found that the school of the Emperor's Star was filled with people patrolling everywhere. These people were dressed in the clothes of the major clans, and each of them had a profound cultivation base. They were solemnly inspecting every inch of the place. What's going on? Luo Yu yawned. Why are there suddenly so many people? Someone at the side immediately explained to them enthusiastically. I heard that the young masters of the major clans were kidnapped from Dawn School. Those thieves actually escaped into our starry school and are now searching for them everywhere. Mu Yin was stunned, and sadness flashed across her eyes. She could understand why the major clans would make such a big fuss. If she could find her Xiao Bao, she could do anything. Although the atmosphere in Starry School was tense because of the thieves, the Tri-Academy Tournament Finals still had to go on. The stands were still filled with people. All the Xiozha's expressions were excited, completely unaffected by the tense atmosphere. When the hosting female cultivator stood on the stage and announced the start of the finals, the crowd burst into a tsunami of cheers. Some people were shouting Xingchen team, while others were shouting Feng Tianwang team. Shouts of Jun Mu Yin and Lu Jinheng also rose and fell. The two teams stood under the stage and looked at each other. Lu Jinheng cupped his hands at Mu Yin and smiled. Although we are not as strong as you, many people may think that the championship belongs to your Xiao Yao team. But no matter what, we will give our best. Mu Yin glanced at Qini Zhou and then back at Lu Jinheng. Same to you. We will give our best too. This was the only way to show the greatest respect to the opponent. The hosting female cultivator shouted, Let's invite Feng Tianwang team onto the stage. Lu Jinheng and the others jumped onto the stage one after another. Their movements were light and elegant, causing a round of applause. Next, let's invite Xingchen team onto the stage. Another round of applause came from the spectator stands. Mu Yin and the others were about to go up. Suddenly, a cold shout came from high up in the stands. Wait! This shout contained a lot of inner force. It shook one's lungs and echoed in the ears of the thousands of people on the viewing platform. There was a sudden silence as everyone raised their heads and looked up. Lan Huahong's figure slowly walked out of the small house that represented nobility and uniqueness. He condescendingly swept his eyes over the dense crowd in the stands with a bit of disdain. Finally, his gaze fell on Mu Yin, and he said in a deep voice, Someone, come and capture that thief for me. His hand is pointing in Mayan's direction. Almost as soon as his voice falls, a nascent soul cultivator at Lan Huahong's side turns into a flash of lightning, charging straight towards Mu Yin. The expressions of the members of Carefree Squad changed drastically. They all wanted to raise their swords to block. But all of this happened too suddenly, and they had no time to react at all. With a loud bang, a dazzling white light burst out from the bottom of the arena, and a wave of qi rolled. The faint sound of a zither reverberated in the air. The Yuanying Xiozha flipped in the air and landed on the ground. His expression was grave and shocked as he looked at the young female nearby. Chapter 1588. After the nascent soul cultivator landed on the ground, Mu Yan's face turned pale, and she couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Junior sister, how are you? Sixth senior sister, don't scare me. The people of the Xiao Yao team quickly surround Mayan, their faces full of worry. The people who witnessed this scene felt their hearts in their throats. What the hell happened? Why would an honored guest of the Purple Cloud realm suddenly attack Mayan? That nascent soul Xiozha was definitely the most shocked out of all of them. As a nascent soul cultivator, he didn't care about his dignity and faced to sneak attack a little girl at the stage of fasting. Originally, it was to follow Li Zuping's instructions and abolish Mayan's cultivation in the blink of an eye. At that time, even if she couldn't get any results from the theory, What was the use of her, a cripple, holding the zither? He didn't expect that his full-power attack, as a nascent soul cultivator, would be blocked. Behind Lan Huahong, Li Zuping was not disappointed. Instead, he looked even more excited, because he just saw Jun Mayan pluck the strings. In other words, it was the zither that blocked the nascent soul cultivator's attack. If such a divine object were to fall into his hands, thinking of this, Li Zuping immediately gave Lan Huahong a look. Lan Huahong jumped down from the platform and landed next to the nascent soul cultivator. He said sternly, "What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear my order? Hurry up and capture that thief. How dare you hurt my junior sister?" Yun Ruhan's face was ashen. A dignified nascent soul cultivator, the personal guard of the Lan Empire's 11th prince, actually dared to make a move on a little girl in the fasting realm. Do you have any shame? If word of this gets out in the future, wouldn't people think that the Lan clan empire is a bunch of shameless bastards that bully the weak? As soon as he said that, Lan Huahong, Li Zuping, and the two nascent soul cultivators' expressions changed drastically. Impudent, the nascent soul stage cultivator, who had just attacked, bellowed, and suddenly attacked Yun Ruhan and Mu Yin. "This old man will kill you right now." The pressure and attack of a nascent soul cultivator was not something an ordinary cultivator could withstand. A wave of heat seemed to be burning in the air, covering the sky and covering the earth, and the killing intent was awe-inspiring. Even before the attack arrived, Yun Ruhan was already pale and on the verge of collapsing. Even the clan of the Shao sect couldn't withstand this attack. However, right at this moment, Lan Huahong and the others suddenly heard a shout from behind them. "Stop! Yun, don't you have enough shame?" Before another voice, the Mu of Moon sect. In the blink of an eye, the nascent soul cultivator's attack was defeated. Yun Ruhan heaved a long sigh of relief. With Luo Yu's support, she steadied herself and held Luo Yu's hand. On the other side, Lan Huahong and the others angrily turned their heads and saw Lan Feng walking over with a cold expression. "Of Moon! Of you! Clan cultivator Lan, you dare!" Lan Feng looked at Lan Huahong with a face full of disapproval and didn't have the slightest intention of shrinking back. "Your Highness, you're a prince of the Lan imperial family, and you represent the face of the Lan imperial family. How could he allow his subordinates to bully the weak? As your imperial tutor, if I allow you to lose face of Lan imperial family, how will I explain to His Majesty and Empress when I return?" Lan Huahong's face turned green and white, but he couldn't say a word. Chapter 1589. With just a few words, this person has tied their actions to the Lan royal family, forcing Lan Feng, the person who values face the most, to step forward. What a good scheme. However, do they think they can escape like this? Li Zuping steps forward and slightly salutes Lan Feng. "Lan Darren, you don't know, but His Highness ordered Mayan to be captured because she stole His Highness's treasure." Mayan feeds Yun Ruhan an elixir, then looks up and says, "Treasure? What treasure did I steal from His Highness?" To make His Highness so flustered and exasperated that he doesn't even care about his face, sending a nascent soul cultivator to attack us juniors? Lan Huahong sneers and points to the zither in her hand. "You stole this one zither." Mayan bursts into laughter. "Your Highness, I've been using this zither to fight for several days, but you've only just discovered that this zither is yours? Those who know would think that your Highness is slow to react, that your mind isn't fast enough. Those who don't know would think that you're eager to hunt and want to take whatever good thing you see for yourself." As soon as these words come out, the scene goes silent for a moment. Immediately, there's a burst of fierce discussion in the stands. Snatching someone else's thing after taking a fancy to it, isn't this too much? Who asked him to be an honored guest from the Ziyun realm and a member of the royal family? Whatever he wants from the Azure Blue realm, don't we have to offer it up with both hands? That doesn't mean he can't take it by force. Moreover, he directly sent a nascent soul expert to attack a girl at the stage of fasting. He clearly wants to silence her and take the treasure for himself, right? I didn't expect that the Prince of the Lan Empire is such a sinister person. The surrounding people's discussion enters Lan Feng's ears, making him tremble with anger. He doesn't understand how the 11th Highness, who used to be well-behaved and obedient in the palace, would become like this after leaving the palace. If the rumor that the Prince of the Lawn Empire had forcibly seized the treasure of a young cultivator from the Azure Blue realm, how could the Lawn Empire have a foothold in the Ziyun realm in the future? Your Highness, don't talk nonsense. Lan Feng's face darkened as he said, "This subordinate has been by your side for so many years, but I've never seen you with a zither. You're not good at the zither either, so how could that thing be yours?" Lan Huahong had naturally heard the doubts of the surrounding people towards him. Now that Lan Feng had refuted him without giving him any face, it instantly caused him to feel that he had lost all face, and he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Before he could erupt, Li Zuping hurriedly stopped him and said to Lan Feng, "Lord Lan might not know this, but this zither is a gift that my Flow Moon sect prepared to present to His Highness. It is called the Primordial Zither, because the place where it was discovered was in the Danyang mountain range of the Azure Blue world. It was not transported back to Xian Nation. Instead, it was prepared to be presented to your Highness at the Jasper Forest Gathering. Who knew that the zither would be stolen from the Danyang mountain range while it was being transported?" Li Zuping vowed, "When I first saw Miss June's zither, I felt that it was somewhat similar to the Primordial Zither. However, he was also afraid that he would wrongly accuse someone, so he didn't dare to bring it up. Instead, he sent someone to investigate first. With this investigation, the zither in Mayan's hands is indeed the Primordial Zither." Chapter 1590. On the stage, Qin Yizhou immediately steps forward and says indifferently, "I can testify that during the Great Sect Tournament of the Blue Cloud World, June Mayan had taken out this zither. In fact, Mayan didn't directly play the Tian Mo Qin in the Great Sect Tournament. Her main fighting weapon was the Tian Mo Qin's 7 absolute swords. However, Qin Yizhou still comes forward to testify without hesitation. First, he believes in June Mayan's character. Second, he saw Mayan's Tian Mo Qin transform into the 7 absolute swords with his own eyes, and these 7 absolute swords are exactly the same as the long sword he used in battle. With Qin Yizhou in front, quite a few people in the stands also shout out. We've also seen June Mayan play this zither a long time ago. At that time, His Highness the 11th Highness still hadn't come to our Azure Blue world. How could it be stealing His Highness zither? That's right. I saw June Mayan play the zither during the entrance examination. Li Zuping's complexion is a bit unsightly, secretly blaming this group of trash from Azure Blue world for ruining his good fortune. However, his expression has always been very calm. Hearing this, he sneers and says, "You haven't seen this zither up close. How would you know that she didn't swap it midway? I'll only ask you one thing. In your Azure Blue world, have you ever seen a zither that's as powerful as the one in June Mayan's hands? Or even half as powerful as it?" The discussion in the stands suddenly quiets down a bit. They really haven't seen such a powerful zither. Yi Shaoqin suddenly stands up, looking at June Mayan with a cold expression. She says in a clear voice, "The power of that zither is 100 times more powerful than my Yi family's century-old red flame pipa. Let alone seeing such a zither in Azure Blue world. I've never even heard of it." "Huh?" Li Zuping strokes his beard and says, "It's normal that you haven't heard of it, because this Primordial Zither isn't an ordinary spiritual tool, but a divine tool." "What? A divine tool? Really? I haven't even seen an 8th grade spiritual tool. I didn't expect that this zither is actually a divine tool." "Heavens, so it's a divine artifact. No wonder it's so powerful." Li Zuping's face suddenly turns cold, raising his voice. "June Mayan, can you tell me, you're just a cultivator at the stage of fasting. You've never been to Xianjie. So where did you get this artifact?" Then, without waiting for Mayan's reply, he continued, "Can't say it, right? This divine artifact doesn't even belong to you. You stole it from the Pilyang mountain range when my subordinates weren't paying attention. I admit that you do have some small tricks up your sleeve, but aren't you being too greedy? You want to rely on the divine artifact to make a name for yourself and show off in the Jasper Forest Guild. Do you think that I won't be able to recognize the Primordial Chaos Zither just because it looks shabby and unassuming? Little did you know that heaven's net has a long way to go. Little thief, you have finally revealed your true colors. It turns out that June Mayan and the Carefree team were able to achieve such a good result because they used a heaven-defying artifact. On the grandstand, many people had subtle expressions on their faces. Clap, clap, clap. Mayan slowly claps her hands, showing a meaningful smile towards Li Zuping. So, Hall Masterly believes that the zither in my hand is your so-called primordious zither. Chapter 1591. Since it's a zither that the Flowing Moon sect found, then surely Hall Masterly can bring out the power of this zither better than a little cultivator at the stage of fasting, right? Li Zuping raises his chin, his expression arrogant. The primordial zither is a divine tool. Even I don't dare to say that I can bring out the full power of this zither. But compared to a little thief like you who stole the zither, I'm naturally more worthy of this divine tool. Mayan sighs softly and shakes her head. That being the case, regardless of whether this zither is mine or not, I don't dare to casually take it. After all, an ordinary man's wealth is his own ruin. However, since Hall Masterly wants to take this zither away, shouldn't you demonstrate on the spot how earth-shattering the true power of this divine tool is? The corners of her mouth curl up into a faintly discernible arc. Otherwise, how can Hall Masterly prove that this zither is your so-called primordial zither? Don't tell me that just because your upper lip touches the lower lip, my things have become your Flowing Moon sect's divine tool? Li Zuping's complexion stiffens. He's being checkmated by Mayan. But then he thinks that since this zither can bring out such great power in the hands of a little girl at the stage of fasting, there's no reason that he can't. Thus, he says with a profound expression, this primordial zither is something that our Flowing Moon sect has just found. I haven't familiarized myself with it, so I naturally can't bring out the full power of the divine tool. But I can still let you experience it a little. His words are very slick. If the power of the primordial zither that he shows is not as great as expected, he can say that it's because he's still not familiar with the effects and attributes of the divine tool. Now, can I ask you to return my Flowing Moon sect's divine tools? Mayan's mouth holds a shallow smile. Almost without any hesitation, she hands over the Tian Mo Chin in her hands. Li Zuping can't react for a moment. He thought that this girl would certainly struggle and be unwilling. He didn't expect that she would so readily give the zither to him. But then, he shows an ecstatic smile, grabs the zither, and holds it in his arms. Since this zither is in his hands, no one can take it away. Hall Masterly, shouldn't you show me the power of the primordial zithers? Mu Yin said unhurriedly. We, the young cultivators of the blue world, are all eager to see the world. Li Zuping glanced at her coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. This June Mayan couldn't possibly think that she would be unable to control the zither after putting her divine sense imprint on it, right? What a joke. It was just the spiritual imprint of a little cultivator at the stage of fasting. He could easily erase it. Li Zuping carefully picked up the zither and looked at it greedily. Then, he suddenly poured his spiritual power into the zither and plucked the strings with his other hand. He deliberately plucks the strings towards Mayan, wanting to catch her off guard and teach her a lesson. However, the ear-piercing and unpleasant sound of the zither rang out and slowly disappeared. In the end, nothing changed. The scene fell into a strange silence. Everyone looked at Li Zuping strangely. Li Zuping's face was full of disbelief, and his face was flushed. Just now, he had used 50% of his spiritual power, but when he poured it into the zither, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 1592. This time, the sound is even more ear-piercing than before. It's like a demonic sound, causing many people to frown and cover their ears. However, the surroundings are still quiet. There's no spiritual chi fluctuation, no swift and fierce attacks, and there's no dazzling divine skill like what Mayan displayed on the competition stage. After a moment of silence, someone finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. And the people of the Xiaoyao sect don't give them any face as they convulse with laughter. Oh my, so this is the so-called divine tool, the primeval zither. It's really powerful and awe-inspiring. That's right. My ears are hurting. That sound just now was so unpleasant that I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. If someone made this kind of demonic sound in the competition, our Xiaorao team might just admit defeat. Huh? You're really worthy of being a nascent Soul Stage Hall Master Li. The power of this zither in my junior sister's hands is really less than 1,000th of its power in yours. The voices of the people of the Xiaorao sect are loud and clear, so that everyone in the Tai Square can hear them clearly. Immediately, there's a roar of laughter. Li Zuping's face turns red and purple. Embarrassment, humiliation, and anger make his whole body tremble. He's the dignified hall master of the Flowing Moon sect. When has he ever been humiliated like this? Li Zuping suddenly glares at Mayan and roars. What did you do to this zither? Mayan brushes her clothes and says unhurriedly, Hall Master Li must be joking. I'm just a little fasting stage cultivator. Even if I did something to this zither, how could a nascent soul cultivator like Hall Master Li not see through it? Not to mention, Hall Master Li also said that this is your Flowing Moon sect zither. So it turns out that the people of the Flowing Moon sect can only find divine tools, but can't use them? Li Zuping is immediately speechless. Lan Feng fiercely brushes his sleeves and grits his teeth. This is really a disgrace. Li Zuping, when we return, I'll report to His Majesty and her ladyship. A person like you will only lead His Highness astray if he stays by her side. And you too. If you dare to let His Highness mess around again, don't blame me for being impolite. Lan Feng fiercely pointed at the two nascent soul cultivators and gave Lan Huahong a warning look. Lan Feng was a subject in name, but in reality, he also had the blood of the imperial family. Moreover, he was deeply trusted by the Lan Empire's emperor, so his status in the palace was extremely high. Therefore, even though Lan Huahong and the two nascent soul cultivators were scolded like grandchildren, they didn't dare to say anything. Not to mention Li Zuping. He was so angry that he almost fainted in the face of the mockery and ridicule of thousands of people. He had never expected that he would go for wool and come home shorn. He had thought that it would be easy to snatch a zither from this little cultivator of the Azure Blue realm. Who would have thought that this woman would be so cunning, causing him to lose face in front of everyone? Luoyu took a step forward and said loudly, Hall Master Li, since you can't activate this zither, does that mean that this isn't the primordial zither you speak of? Why don't you return the zither to my sixth senior sister? Li Zuping's face was livid, but his hand tightly held onto the zither, not letting go. Although he couldn't use this zither for the time being, this zither had endured 90% of his spiritual power without any change. This proved that this was definitely a powerful magic treasure. It might even be of a higher grade than a divine tool, which was why he couldn't control it. Since such a treasure was in his hands, how could he give it away? Chapter 1593. Fortunately, Luoyu reacted quickly and narrowly avoided it. Li Zuping coldly said, I said that this zither belongs to my Flowing Moon sect, so it belongs to my Flowing Moon sect. Who do you low-level cultivators of Azure Blue Realm think you are? Daring to question me? These words can be said to be very shameless, very blatantly robbing other people's treasures. On the Tai Square, whether it's the students of the three academies or the people of the major sects and families, their complexions are unusually unsightly. Some people with unyielding characters are even more direct. I didn't expect that the people of Ziyun Realm are actually such shameless trash. They want to cheat others' treasures after taking a fancy to them, and when they can't cheat, they still want to take it by force. Really too shameless. 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 Li Zuping has already steeled his heart to take this zither for himself. Regardless of what these people say, he wants to put the zither into his storage space. However, after running his divine sense several times, he finds that the zither in his hand doesn't move. It can't be put into his storage ring. Qi Huang's gloating laughter rings in Mayan's mind. He wants to put away the Tian Mo Qin with a mere storage space. Does he know that even a corner of the Tian Mo Qin is 10,000 times bigger than his storage space? At this time, Lan Feng is already furious to the extreme. Li Zuping, I order you to immediately return the zither. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Li Zuping's complexion is ashen, but he turns his head and hands the zither to Lan Huahong. Lan Darren, you're wrong. This zither was given to His 11th Highness by my Flowing Moon sect. Now, it already belongs to His 11th Highness. Does Lan Darren want to snatch the treasure from His 11th Highness? Or does Lan Darren think that you have a high status and power, that even His 11th Highness has to listen to you? Lan Huahong has no interest in the broken zither in his hand, but he remembers that Li Zuping said that he would let him have Mayan's promise if he obtained the zither. His eyes flash with greed, and he immediately says, yes, this zither is Gu's. Lan Feng, you want to rob Gu's thing? Are you trying to rebel? Lan Feng is so angry that he can't speak. Li Zuping is already looking at Mayan with a sneer. What's more, Mayan, how can you prove that this zither is yours? Could it be that your name is engraved on the zither? Even if such a precious treasure was covered in dust and fell into the hands of a little girl who was at the stage of fasting, it would only last for a while. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator like him couldn't move this zither in the slightest. He doesn't believe that Jun Mayan could leave any mark on it. Muyin couldn't help but want to laugh, because this Tianmo Qin really has her name engraved on it. Moreover, she didn't carve it herself, but when the Tianmo Qin recognized her as its master, it appeared on its own. Just as she's about to speak, a tender and soft voice suddenly rings out from the crowd. I can testify that this zither belongs to Jun Mayan. Miss June, everyone turned to look at the source of the voice. When Li Zuping saw who was speaking, his face instantly turned frosty. Lu Xian, was this slut going to betray him? Muyin also turned her head to look at the person who spoke. She saw that it was a beautiful woman with a curvaceous figure. Every move she made was filled with charm. Chapter 1594. Lu Ruoxuan slowly walks to the center of the crowd. When she receives Li Zuping's murderous gaze, she stealthily sends him a "don't be impatient" expression. Then she says coquettishly, some time ago, this servant accidentally witnessed a killing scene in the Danyang mountain range. The scene was really very bloody. As she speaks, she caresses her chest, revealing a frightened expression. Many male Xiao can't help but swallow their saliva when they see her heaving breasts and perky buttocks. Lu Ruoxuan vaguely glanced at Mayan and continued. At that time, there was a party that used this zither to kill people. At that time, I clearly saw that the one who used the zither to kill people was Miss Jun Mayan. Mayan's complexion suddenly turns cold. When did she kill people in the Danyang mountain range? Li Zuping coldly says, even if you saw her use this zither to kill people, how can you be sure that she didn't steal it from my Flowing Moon sect? What's more, who are you? Do you think you can testify with just a few words? Lu Ruoxuan looks flustered and sobs. This servant is just a weak woman. This servant doesn't know anything. But that day, this servant really saw Miss June use this zither to kill people. Miss June is so powerful. Those people were not her opponent. Right? Right. At that time, Miss June was tied up with a few children, covered in blood and somewhat pitiful. This servant felt distressed at that time and wanted to persuade her to treat the children better, but that zither was really too powerful. This servant didn't dare. What children? How could there be children by Jun Mayan's side? Moreover, Jun Mayan actually killed people in the Danyang mountain range. Who did she kill? Do you believe this woman's nonsense? You can't say that. This girl originally came to testify for Jun Mayan. How could she harm her? The crowd is discussing. Li Zuping seems to realize something and no longer anxiously refutes Lu Ruoxuan. The people of the Xiaorao sect have ugly expressions. What nonsense are you talking about? Our junior sister is with us every day. When did she kill people in the Danyang mountain range? And when did she tie up any children? Don't slander my sixth sister. Lu Ruoxuan staggered a step back, revealing a panicked expression. No, I was wrong. I didn't see anything. I didn't know that Jun Mayan kidnapped those little Gongzi and Little Miss. Don't kill me, I won't say anything. When the people of the Xiao Yao sect saw that she was acting like this, they knew that their junior sister had killed someone. They were immediately enraged. However, before they could react, a few people rushed in from not far away. What kind of children did you just say? Do you have my Z? What happened to my Z? The center of Tai Square was in chaos. Everyone was still in a daze, but when they saw who it was, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Nalan Clan's Patriarch Nalan Qing, Duan Clan's Patriarch Duan Xiangyang, Lu Clan's Patriarch Lu Junjiang, Murong Clan's Patriarch Murong Bai, Feng Clan's Patriarch Feng Yi, and even a few other matriarchs. It could be said that the most powerful people in the entire Azure Blue realm had all appeared here. Chapter 1595. My Z! Madame Duan screamed and almost fainted. Nalan Qing grabbed Lu Ruoxuan's clothes and roared hysterically. Tell me, who dares to do this to my precious granddaughter? Lu Ruoxuan looked timidly at Mayan with tears in her eyes and said sadly, I don't dare to say. I can't say. I don't want to die. She is so powerful. She can kill me just by plucking the zither. Sob, sob, sob. The eyes of the several patriarchs simultaneously looked towards Mayan. Everyone's eyes seemed to be stained with poison, dripping with blood. You kidnapped our granddaughter. Tell me, where did you hide her? Mayan looked at Lu Ruoxuan coldly and said, I have never killed anyone in the Danyang mountain range, let alone kidnapped a child. May I know who you are? Why haven't I seen you in the Starry School before? Ha! I was killing people in the Danyang mountain range, and you happened to see me? I am so powerful, but I didn't notice you beside me? Don't you think your words are full of loopholes? Lu Ruoxuan said anxiously, That's because I hid well. If I lied, how would I know there were 4 boys and 1 girl? It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is that you are crazy. How could you do this to a child? Now that I've found out, you want to kill me? Kill you? Muyan couldn't help but laugh out loud. A person at the peak of Gold Core stage is putting on airs and crying, saying that she's afraid of being silenced by me, a cultivator of fasting stage. Girl, aren't you acting a little too much? Hearing this, Lu Ruoxuan's face suddenly froze. After she devoured Mei Xian's spirit, her cultivation increased greatly, her appearance changed, and her aura became extremely special. Ordinary people couldn't see through her real cultivation. If she hid herself, others wouldn't be able to find her at all. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to follow the people of the 5 clans and hear this secret. But this Jun Mayan was able to see through her true cultivation at a glance. This woman seemed to be born to be her nemesis. Lu Ruoxuan noticed that the clan leaders were already looking at her suspiciously, and she suddenly panicked. However, at this moment, a flying boat descended from the sky. Before the flying boat came to a stop, a few guards dressed in the uniforms of the 5 great clans disembarked. Clan leader, we found him. Nalan Qing and the others were startled and hurriedly said, Have you found Yin Yin and the others? Where's my precious granddaughter? Quick, let me see my Sue. However, the guards all looked at each other with a sorrowful expression. Then, they took out a few tattered bloody clothes. Well, what does this mean? The family heads were all over 100 years old, and their cultivations had long reached the nascent soul stage. But now, looking at the bloody clothes of the children in front of them, all of their voices trembled, and they were almost unable to smoothly ask a question. The guards knelt on the ground and choked with sobs. We only found the young master and the young lady's clothes. We didn't even find their bones. Beside the clothes, there was a furnace with ashes inside. I'm afraid that the young master and the young lady have already met with misfortune. My Z! Madame Duan screamed as her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. Chapter 1596. My sewer, my poor sewer. Madame Feng also fell to the ground. Her face was pale and full of tears. Nalan Qing's usually strong body suddenly bent, as if he had aged decades. Thinking about how his sweet and adorable granddaughter lost her life in the hands of a villain without even a corpse left, his heart surged with a bone-piercing killing intent. Who was it that killed his precious granddaughter? He was going to skin this thief alive and tear his bones to shreds. Lu Junjiang was the calmest among them. He suppressed his grief and pain and asked the reporting guard, "Where did you find these bloody clothes?" "In the Alcade branch," the guard answered without hesitation. The Alcade branch is huge, and most of the palaces are abandoned. Therefore, we searched for a long time before we found it in a secret stone room. In the stone room, there were not only the clothes of the young masters and mistresses, but also many other children's clothes. There were even piles of bones. It was a horrible scene. Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. Everyone stared at the guard who spoke, then at the people from the Shaorao school. They could not believe their ears. These people from the Yaoguang branch had kidnapped and killed so many people, and they were all innocent children. Could it be that these 7 people were not the heroes of the Starry School, but rather insane murderers? Lu Ruoxuan cried, "I don't know why you slandered me, Mayan. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just telling the truth. Even if you really wanted to practice evil martial arts, you shouldn't have done it to innocent children. Fortunately, your evil deeds have finally been made public. This can be considered as proving my innocence." "Don't talk nonsense," Luo Yu said anxiously. "We didn't do these things. The Alcade branch is so big, and we didn't go everywhere. How do we know if there are any stone rooms? Also, do we have nothing better to do after eating? Why did you kidnap a few children to kill?" Yi Xiaoqin from the Spiritual and Martial Arts Institute suddenly said, "I once heard from my father that there is a kind of assistant musician. In order to connect with the user's instrument and exert greater power, they are willing to sacrifice the blood of young boys and girls to form a connection with the magical equipment. This kind of musical instrument is contaminated with filthy, baleful aura. Ordinary cultivators would not be able to activate it, but in their hands, they can unleash great power. Evil technique? Virgin boys and girls sacrificed." Everyone was shocked. Li Zuping laughed out loud. "So the reason why I am unable to activate this primordious zither is because this zither has been refined by you using witchcraft. In order to take our evolution moon sex divine weapon for yourself, you really spared no effort." Now everything was connected. More and more people started to believe that the zither was a divine weapon of the flowing moon sect. On the other hand, Junmayan and the Xiao Yao school were thugs who killed innocent children. Diyu Dao leaped down from the high platform and stared at the 7 people furiously. "To think that I guaranteed in front of the clan leaders that there would never be such an evil person in the Starry School. I didn't expect you to be so cruel that you would attack innocent children. You don't deserve to be students of the Starry School." Chapter 1597. Chu Moli smiled, but his eyes were as dark as ink. "Xiaoqi, Yuma, stop talking. No one will listen to you no matter how much you say. Can't you see it? This is a trap that was set long ago, just waiting for us to fall into it. I just don't know which person is so generous as to use the children of the 5 clans as a bargaining chip. What a good move, what guts! Aren't they afraid of shooting themselves in the foot?" Diyu Dao's eyebrows twitched. Then he said angrily, "Things have already come to this, and you are still lying, trying to clear your name." He turned around and looked at the 5 clan leaders, his face full of pain. "It's all because of our lack of Taoism that the school has produced such evildoers who are worse than animals. To show our shame, the Starry School has decided to withdraw from the fight for the championship of the Tri-School tournament, and we will seal the Alcade branch forever." On the spectator stand, Su Iluan suddenly stood up, his fists clenched tightly, his eyes full of ferocity. He stared at Diyu Dao, his eyes full of murderous intent. His body also emanated a thick, black, evil qi. However, after a moment, he calmed down and retracted all the black, evil qi. It was not that he did not want to help the children of the Alcade branch, but it was really not the time yet. He had planned for so many years for revenge. He could not fail at the last moment. Su Iluan slowly sat back in his seat and looked down, hiding the pity and sorrow in his eyes. He knew that the 7 talented children of the Alcade branch would probably not be able to escape today. After Udeo's order, the students on the spectator's stand were all silent. They had yet to come back to their senses, unable to believe that the 7 invincible and brave people on the battlefield were actually thugs who killed children. Even the Phoenix Heavenly Kings team, who were announced as the champions of the Tri-School tournament, all had a serious expression, without any joy. Chin Ijo suddenly took a step forward and said, "I've known June Mayan since the Qingyan world. She is definitely not a thug who would kill children." Lu Jinheng also slowly said, "If June Mayan is really the Lord of Azure Sky, Yi Liangshan, I don't believe that a person with such attainments in the way of the sword would be a despicable and cruel person." On the spectator stand, Ouyang Qing leaped down and stood beside Ling Yusheng without hesitation. "I believe that little Sheng would never do anything that goes against reason and nature." Su Zi quickly stood beside Mu Yin and said loudly, "I'm an exchange student sent by the Phoenix Sky Academy to the Starry School. I've been staying in the Alcade branch for the past few days. I can testify that they definitely didn't kidnap any children." In the stands, many students stood up. "If June Mayan is really Great God Yi, we will never believe that our Great God Yi is a bad person." Lu Ruoxuan jealously looks at these strangers she's met by chance testifying for June Mayan and the Xiaoyao team. Her heart feels like it's being gnawed by thousands of ants. When she was in trouble, these people only knew how to bully her, beat her, and even made her eat shit. Why is it that when it's Mayan's turn, with so much evidence in front of them, these people still want to protect her? June Mayan, based on what? But today, I will definitely make you lose all standing and reputation. Chapter 1598. Sure enough, the people who hang out with June Mayan aren't good people. Lu Ruoxuan takes a deep breath and suddenly says, "I heard that musicians who practice evil arts can bewitch people's hearts through music. I didn't believe it was true before, but today I really saw it. Yes, she must be using music to bewitch people's hearts. This is also one of the characteristics of witchcraft musicians." Yi Xiaoqin immediately follows up. Lu Ruoxuan wipes her tears. Maybe those innocent and lovely children were also bewitched by her music, so they believed her. But they didn't expect that they would believe a devil, and as a result, they would lose their lives. Those children are really too pitiful. They are still so young, and their lives have just begun, but they have become ghosts under Mayan's hands. Madame Duan, who has just woken up, suddenly screams when she hears these words. She suddenly jumps up and madly rushes towards Mayan, which, "Return my Z! Return my baby son! I will kill you to pay for my Z's life." Mayan easily dodges. Madame Duan's cultivation is not high, but Madame Duan has gone crazy. She doesn't care about her own safety. After being dodged, she immediately rushes over recklessly. Mayan wants to defend herself, but just as her spiritual power surges, she feels a strong pressure coming towards her. She stops moving, and the dagger in Madame Duan's hand cuts her arm. Blood splatters. "Junior sister, you're hurt." The people of the Xiaoyao school quickly protect Mayan. At this time, the 7 of them have been surrounded by 5 nascent soul stage experts. Duan Xiangyang supports his wife and coldly says, "Madam, rest assured. If this bitch really harms Yi, I will definitely seek justice for our son." Madame Duan sobs, but she still retreats to the back. The 5 masters have cold expressions. Although they don't act immediately, their eyes tell everyone that it's like the calm before the storm. At any time, a storm will roll up and tear these 7 people to pieces. Lu Junjiang looks at Mayan and the others. "What else do you have to say now?" "Mayan, if you want to blame someone, you can always find a pretext. But I really haven't seen the young masters and young ladies." Chu Moli suddenly says, "Can you let me have a look at your son's bloody clothes?" Seeing that the 5 family heads had a gloomy look on their faces, they did not say anything. Chu Moli smiled faintly. "Even if you want to sentence us to death, you should at least give us a chance to defend ourselves, right? Don't you think that there's something fishy about this?" Lu Junjiang and the others looked at the young men and women in front of them and could not help but reveal astonished expressions. In the face of such a desperate situation, these people could still be so calm, as if they did not care about their lives at all. He subconsciously wanted a hand over the bloody clothes in his hand. Deudeo's expression changed drastically when he saw this. In case anything unexpected happened, he made up his mind and suddenly leaped up, slamming his palm towards Mu Yan's head. "You evil disciples! Keeping you in this world will only stain the Starry School's reputation. This old man will personally end you right now." All of a sudden, a strong wind blew in the center of the Tai Square. Mayan suddenly opens her eyes wide, wanting to save herself and fight back, but she suddenly finds that the Tianmo Chin isn't in her arms. Chapter 1599. Deudeo's face shows a sinister expression, an ominous glint. However, just then, there's a sudden panic cry in the sky. "Ah, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall. Jianjin Gij, slow down. We're not the boss. We're gonna die. Ah." There's a loud bang, and Deudao, who had already attacked Mayan, feels that he's hit something hard. His whole body is sent flying, tumbling to the ground. His head is ringing, and he can't stand up for a long time. On Tai Square, a cloud of dust fills the air. From time to time, a child's clear voice can be heard from within the dust. "Ba ba ba. So unsophisticated. Jianjin Gij. You're too much. Are you doing this on purpose?" "Boo-hoo-hoo. Yinyan's hair is a mess. My face is also messed up. It's not pretty." "Bastard Duan Z. Your stinky feet are stepping on my face. Still not moving." "It's not stinky feet. It's fragrant feet. It's fragrant feet, blah blah. Stop messing around. Where's boss and Lon little brother? Haven't they arrived yet?" Listening to these voices, Lu Junjiang and the others suddenly widen their eyes, their faces full of disbelief. Madame Duan shakily raises her head, trembling as she asks, Did I just hear Z's voice? Is it our family Z?" "Yinyan. It's Yinyan's voice, isn't it?" The dust slowly dissipates, and the child's voice suddenly rises. "Hey, I think I heard my mother's voice. Grandpa, it's Grandpa. Wow. Yinyan, Mrs. Grandpa." From the dust, several small figures rush out like cannonballs. When they see the person standing in front of them, they immediately rush towards the familiar figure. "Daddy, Nyang Chin, Grandpa. Wow, Grandpa. Yinyan thought I'd never see you again. Boo-hoo-hoo, Daddy Nyang Chin Z is so scared. Z thought I'd never see you again. Someone bullied Shushu, Grandpa. You have to avenge Shushu. Wow, wow, wow." A few patriarchs, who were usually dignified and steady, were now hugging their treasures and crying tears of joy. They were smiling like children, completely losing their usual dignity. The mistresses of a few families even hugged their children in their arms and kissed them. They thought they had lost their precious son and grandson forever. They didn't expect that he would return to their side. It was like a dream. "Hong Yuan, what's going on? Where did you go?" Lu Junjiang touched his son's face, which was now a little darker, and asked, "Do you know how worried I was?" Lu Hongyuan was the oldest among the five of them. He had a calm temperament and was usually serious in speech and manner. But in the end, he was only a 7-year-old child. Now that he had a new lease on life, he couldn't help but tear up as he faced his father. "Daddy, we were caught by the bad guys and almost fed to the monsters. Fortunately, Boss appeared and saved us." "That's right, Grandpa. Our boss is amazing, really amazing. Father, Mother, I've also become stronger. I can kill a vicious beast now. It was all taught by Boss. Yes, we taught a lesson to the big bad guy and also saved a little on Gidge. It's so impressive. Our boss is the strongest in the world." Chapter 1600. But they roughly knew that they were caught by the bad guys and almost died. In the end, they were saved by a powerful boss. This boss not only saved them, but also taught them martial arts and sent them all the way here. "Z, where's your boss?" Duan Xiangyang said excitedly. "He is our Duan family's great benefactor. We must thank him properly." Boss went with little brother Lon to look for something. Boss still has to look for his mother. Our boss is very busy. Yes, boss is busy all over the world. Hey, why is Jianjin Gidge also gone? Jianjin Gidge must have gone to pick up boss. Several little guys talked and went astray, excitedly boasting about how heroic and great their boss was. In any case, they would add our boss is #1 in the world. And this funny and warm scene made the tense atmosphere of the entire Tai Square disappear all of a sudden. The crowd looked at these lovely children and revealed happy smiles. Then there was a lot of discussion. Didn't they say that the people of Yaoguang branch killed the children? But now these children are still alive and well? Yes. I said that Junmayan and the Xiao Yao team wouldn't do such a thing. So, someone is slandering Yaoguang branch? Everyone's eyes turned to Lu Ruoxuan and Diyu Dao. Diyu Dao's complexion turned green and white. He wanted to stand up from the ground, but he felt that the blood in his chest was surging and he couldn't move for a long time. He didn't know what hit him just now, but it seemed to be his sword. But the sword's aura gave him a familiar feeling. But when he wanted to take a closer look, he found that there was only a group of children there, and there was no sword at all. Lu Ruoxuan's heart was even more unwilling. Just a little bit more, and she could have killed Junmayan. She didn't expect that these little bastards were still alive. She took a deep breath and suddenly revealed a kind smile. She faced Lu Hongyuan and the others and said, "Little brothers and sisters, Big Sister has a question to ask you." Duanzi spat. "Ugly woman. I hate you, I don't want to answer your question." "Yes, your smile is ugly. Not good at all." It stinks, stay away from us." Feng Su directly gave him a supercilious look. "That sister over there is prettier." Murong Hao secretly pointed at Mu Yen. "Why do I feel like that sister looks a little like boss?" If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed it. It really looks like boss." "Someone like boss must be a good person." "Yes, that beautiful sister must be a good person." Lu Ruoxuan was immediately seething with anger after being despised by a few little radishes. But in the end, she still endured it and turned to face Lu Zhenjiang and the others. She smiled gently and said, "Patriarchs, didn't you hear it just now? They were really being hunted down. It was just that the young masters and young ladies were blessed by the heavens, so they managed to escape. But this didn't mean that the people who kidnapped them didn't have to pay the price. Don't you think so?" she said as she glanced at Mu Yin. "When I saw the few young masters and young misses in the Danyang mountain range that day, they were unconscious. I'm afraid they themselves don't know who kidnapped them. But if it wasn't done by Junmayan and Yao Guang branch, then how can you explain the clothes that were found in Yao Guang branch?" Chapter 1601. It's the black-clothed men. Yes, there are also strong, fierce, and ugly men. They were killing people, killing a lot of people. Yin Yin was very scared, and then we were discovered. Then they knocked us out. Yes, knocked us out. Then they threw us to the monsters to eat. Boo-hoo-hoo, the monsters are so scary. So many corpses. The little ones have indeed been knocked out, which coincides with what Lu Ruoxuan said. Lu Ruoxuan shows a horrified expression. So many corpses. Could it be that demonic technique? This kind of scourge cannot be left alive. Duan Xiangyang pulls his son over and points at Mayan and the others. "Z, take a look. Do you remember if these people were among the people who were chasing you?" Duan Z shakes his head, and the other 4 children also shake their heads. The little radishes are still whispering together. "Is my father senile? That beautiful sister looks so much like boss. How could she be the bad guy who was chasing us?" "Yes, I think that smelly and flirtatious slut is the bad guy. And that old man who was glaring at us is also not a good thing. Oh, there are so many bad guys. Why hasn't boss come yet?" Lu Ruoxuan says. "These people want to commit murder. How could they show their true colors in front of the Gongzi and Mrs.?" Saying that, she wipes her tears and says, "I have no enmity with Miss June and Yaoguang branch, and I don't even know the Gongzi and Mrs. Why would I deliberately frame them? Duan family head, please believe me, okay?" Saying that, she moves closer to Duan Xiangyang with tearful eyes. Intentionally or unintentionally, she sticks out her breasts. Duan immediately yells at the top of his lungs. Yanchin, Yanchin, there's a vixen who wants to seduce Daddy. Quickly go and slap her. Lu Ruoxuan's expression stiffens, her charming face almost distorting. This damned little bastard. If she could, she would really burn them to ashes. Du Dao manages to regulate his breathing with great difficulty. Standing up, he coughs lightly and says, "This matter has now become confusing and difficult to distinguish. Your Highness, you have a noble status and will not be biased. Why don't you decide how to deal with this matter?" Lan Huahong's eyes flashed, and he coldly snorted, "Gu doesn't know if this Jun Mayan kidnapped or not. Gu only knows that she stole Gu's divine tool, the primordial zither, and the crime is conclusive. Men, come and capture her." Lan Feng's face immediately darkened. "Your Highness, the matter has not been thoroughly investigated. How can you, Lan Feng? I've tolerated you for too long." Lan Huahong said sternly, "If I say I'm going to arrest someone, then I'm going to arrest him. Are you going to rebel against your superior?" Lan Feng's face turned ashen. He was speechless. Instead, Li Zuping came out and laughed. "No matter what the truth is, this Jun Mayan and the members of the Carefree Squad are suspects. I think we should lock them up first and then interrogate them." Du Dao immediately nodded. "His Highness and Hall Masterly are right. Please take these people away first. Our academy will definitely get to the bottom of this matter." Haha. Du Dao had long seen through Lan Huahong and Li Zuping's thoughts. One wanted the person, and the other wanted the zither. Chapter 1602. With a glance from Li Zuping, the golden elixir cultivators behind Lan Huahong immediately moved and surrounded Mu Yan's group in an instant. "Everyone, please follow us obediently." As he spoke, the leading golden elixir cultivator reached out his hand to grab them. Lung Yuma suddenly raised her sword and slashed down. "Go my ass. Do you think I don't know that you want to take our junior sisters, Guqin? You people from the Purple Cloud Realm are so fucking shameless." Li Zuping's face instantly became so gloomy that it could drip water. Lung Yuma then pointed at Du and said, "And you old bastard. As the chief of the Starry School, you don't protect your own students, but help others to harm students time and time again. What are your intentions?" Du was speechless. Chu Moli smiled slowly and said, "College Chief D seems to be in a hurry to close the Alcade branch. It was the same last time when Ling Long's wish happened. Haha, I wonder what secrets the Alcade branch is hiding? Yuma, Shao Qi, let's turn the Alcade branch upside down when we have time tomorrow." Lung Yuma and Luo Yu immediately said happily, "Sure, if there's really a secret, we'll dig it out even if we have to dig 3 feet underground." Du Dao was so angry that he almost fainted. He pointed at them and shouted, "Rebel! Rebel! You bastards! I'll definitely kick you out of the Starry School." Li Zuping had already said coldly, "Since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, don't blame me for being impolite." As he finished speaking, his aura suddenly changed and he disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already above the 7 people's heads. A full-powered attack from a nascent soul cultivator was not a joke. The people from the Xiaorao sect's expressions changed, and they were filled with anger. They knew that these people were shameless, but they did not expect them to be so shameless. Nascent soul cultivators had attacked them, who were in the fasting stage, time and time again. Even the clan leaders of the 5 major clans revealed expressions of surprise and dissatisfaction. Their children had already returned safely, and the truth had not come to light yet. However, the people from the Purple Cloud Realm had casually attacked and injured people from the Azure Blue Realm. They were really looking down on the Azure Blue Realm, but it was too late to stop them. These shockingly talented youths. Pretty Big Sister is going to die. The little radishes covered their eyes in panic, unable to bear to watch. Mu Yan watched as Li Zuping's attack descended. Her eyes narrowed, and she made up her mind. Even if she reveals the full strength of the Tian Mo Qin, even if her identity as a Shun musician is discovered, She will never let her fellow brothers and sisters come to harm. His slender fingers gently plucked the strings in the air. Even though there was no zither under his hands, there were still beautiful notes dancing in the air. Lan Huahong looked down at the zither in his arms in surprise. He clearly did not strum the zither, so why did the zither suddenly sound by itself? Li Zuping's face was ferocious. His eyes shone with a cruel light as he ruthlessly slammed his palm down. But at this moment, a sharp whistling sound suddenly came from the sky. The attack that was expected to land on Mu Yin and the others did not fall, but was intercepted halfway. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and a dazzling light exploded. Chapter 1603. Mu Yin and the others were swept several meters away by the blast. Even Li Zuping was sent flying, tumbling several times in the air before barely managing to stand up. However, in the end, his complexion was still alternating between green and white. His chi and blood surged, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn. It's actually an attack from a high-level nascent soul cultivator. I'm still a young seedling. You want me to block an attack from a nascent soul cultivator? No, little master, I'm going to rest. Don't call me if there's nothing important. Li Zuping stood still and shouted angrily. Who are you? However, no one answered him at all. Just when everyone was in a daze, unable to react to what had happened in the smoke, a clear and tender voice of a child rang out. Mother. Mu Yin suddenly opened his eyes wide. He staggered a step forward, his eyes staring straight in the direction of the smoke and dust. Vaguely, a small figure appeared, the figure that she yearned for day and night. Was this the baby she had been waiting for? Mine's hands are tightly clenched, her nails deeply embedded in her palms, but she doesn't feel it at all. That tranquil heart, at this moment, was hanging high up in the air, thumping madly. She had been anticipating and waiting for this moment for too long. Every time he thought that he would finally find a treasure, he would be disappointed again and again, and he would continue to wait helplessly. At this moment, Mu Yin no longer dared to hope that what she had just seen and heard was not an illusion. However, he couldn't help but crazily desire it. Xiao! Bao! A low and hoarse voice came out from between her lips and teeth. It was so soft that it seemed to be soundless, and only she could hear it. However, the figure who was looking around in the smoke seemed to have sensed something. He suddenly turned around and looked in her direction. Mother! A cry filled with a sobbing tone resounded throughout the world. Immediately after, a small figure rushes out of the smoke and dust like lightning and heavily crashes into Mu Yan's bosom. Mother! 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 Wah wah wah! The little figure clung tightly to her body, sticking to her chest, calling out mother over and over again. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he burst into tears. Mu Yan tightly hugs the little person in her arms. Unknowingly, her vision became blurry and tears rolled down her cheeks. Xiao Bao! Xiao Bao! Niangqin finally found you. This scene caused the entire Tai Square to fall into a deathly silence. Especially the people from the Xiao Yao sect, they were dumbfounded. What? What was going on? Why was a little doll, so beautiful that it didn't look like a real person, hugging their little junior sister and calling her mother? Why was their invincible junior sister crying? Wait a minute. How old was junior sister? He already had a son? They really wanted to say that he might be their junior sister's adopted son. But looking at their extremely similar faces, would anyone believe that they weren't biological sons? Little junior sister. Lung Yuma cautiously approached Mu Yin and secretly glanced at the little boy in her arms, whose eyes were red from crying. Oh my God, why is he so cute? Seeing such a little elf cry, her heart was about to melt. Little junior sister, this is. Hearing someone speak, Xiaobao immediately stopped crying. He felt that he was now a little adult. When he thought of his crying appearance just now, he embarrassedly burrowed into Mu Yan's arms. Chapter 1604. So fragrant, so soft, it's his mother's scent. Xiao Bao's nose feels sour again, and his little hands hug Mu Yin even tighter. He finally found his mother. From now on, he will never be separated from his mother again. Mu Yin is also a little embarrassed. She wipes away her tears and looks at Lung Yuma and her other fellow disciples. She picks Xiao Bao up and says, "Senior brother, senior sister, Xiao Qi, this is my son Jun Machin. His nickname is Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao, call him Martial Uncle." Xiao Bao hugs Mu Yan's neck, and his little face is bright red. His pair of ice blue eyes are like the most beautiful glass beads, and his whole face is so beautiful that it seems to have come out of a painting. He's a little shy, but he naturally maintains that kind of grave and calm temperament. Thus, after listening to Mu Yan's words, he obediently nods his head, and then uses a childish voice with a bit of a nasal tone to say, "Martial Uncle." This greeting of Martial Uncle almost makes the 6 people of the Xiao Yao sect faint from the cuteness. Heavens! How can there be such a cute, beautiful child in this world? The thought of asking his junior sister why she had a child was washed away. His heart was filled with bubbles that kept floating up. Luo Yu is even more excited, dancing with joy. "I'm a martial uncle. I have a martial nephew, and such a beautiful martial nephew. He. Boss, you're finally here. Boss, so this is your mother. Your mother is so beautiful. I just said that this beautiful sister looks like Boss. I'm really too smart. He. I think I just saw Boss crying." Yes, crying. Even if Boss cries, he's still the best. The few little fellows had already gathered over at an unknown time, and they surrounded little Bao and chattered incessantly. Xiao Bao immediately blushes, feeling that he has lost a little bit of his boss dignity. Hugging his mother and acting like a spoiled child like this is not manly at all. However, he misses his mother too much, so he can't bear to let go of Mu Yan's hand. Thus, he can only keep a straight face and say, "Shut up, you're too noisy." Hearing this, the little radishes immediately cover their mouths with their hands, looking like they're very obedient. "I'm not noisy," and they're asking for praise from their boss. Duan Xiangyang and the others were stunned when they saw this scene. Because of their outstanding talents, these few little treasures and little tyrants were spoiled since they were young. They had always been lawless. Even if the patriarchs occasionally scolded them, their grandchildren would still rebel and throw a tantrum. When had they ever been so obedient to one person? Moreover, when he heard them say that their boss saved them, he thought that it was a high-level cultivator. They didn't expect it to be a baby who was even younger than their grandson. And it's even Junmai's son? Xiao Bao slowly comes back to his senses. He sticks close to Mu Yan's neck and suddenly sees the bloodstains on her hands, as well as the dissipation of her spiritual power. Suddenly, her expression changed. "Mother, are you injured?" Mine's external injuries were caused by Madame Duan. Because of the pressure exerted by the 5 family heads and Li Zuping, the people of the Xiaoyao school suffered some internal injuries. Xiao Bao's delicate and pretty little face immediately turned murderous. "Mother, who hurt you? Xiao Bao will avenge you." "Yes." The little ones immediately echoed. "Annie, don't be afraid. Tell us, and we will avenge you." Chapter 1605. Saying that, each and every one of them rubbed their palms together, especially excited. Chu Moli leisurely smiled. "Little Gongzi, I'm afraid you'll have to ask your parents and grandfather about this matter." Hearing that, the little turnips immediately turned their gazes towards the 5 great patriarchs and their matriarchs. "I just said that Daddy is muddle-headed. He actually said that Boss's beautiful big sister is a bad person, right? My grandfather also said that Boss is the one who captured us. Heavens, don't tell me that the one who injured Boss was my grandfather. And my daddy." The few little guys covered their mouths one by one, revealing shocked and incredulous expressions. Nailin Yan's big eyes suddenly became misty. "Grandfather, did you injure little brother's mother? In order to save us, little brother almost lost his life." How could you be so bad? Boo-hoo-hoo. Yin Yin doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Lu Honyuan and the others also angrily glared at their respective parents and grandfather. Whoever harms Annie is our enemy. Right, enemy? Our MO, Chinkor, will absolutely not let them off. Daddy, Mommy, tell me, did you guys want to capture our boss? The patriarchs of the 5 great families had always said what they said, awe-inspiring. But now, facing the questioning of the little turnips, they're covered in cold sweat, flustered. Misunderstanding. Everything is a misunderstanding. How could Nayland Ching endure his little granddaughter ignoring him? He immediately smiled apologetically. Your boss saved you. We can't even thank him enough. How could he hit his mother? Nayland Yin angrily glared at him. Grandfather, you really didn't hit little brother's mother? No. You won't hit her in the future? No, absolutely not. Grandfather still has to thank them properly. Nayland Yan's tears turned into laughter. The other patriarchs also immediately swore to the heavens that they would absolutely not touch a single hair on Mayan's head. Moreover, they also said that they would greatly thank her. Only then did they coax their treasured daughter. But the others could coax her. When Duanzi heard that the injury on Mayan's arm was caused by his own mother, he immediately burst into tears. Oh, mother, you hurt boss mother, boss doesn't want me anymore. I hate you, boo-hoo. It was difficult for Madame Duan to have children. She had been married to her husband for decades, and her husband had already reached the nascent soul realm. She finally had Duanzi. It just so happened that this old man was so intelligent and talented. He was the most promising member of the Duan clan to go to the Purple Cloud domain in the past few hundred years. How could he not be jealous? Mrs. Duan's heart was broken when her son angrily criticized her and said that he hated her. Her whole body is drenched in cold sweat, wishing that she could kneel down in front of Mayan. Miss June, I was blinded by lard just now. I actually wronged you. I ask that you, a great person, be magnanimous and don't bother with me. This is our Duan clan's best healing medicine. Muyen didn't refuse. Instead, she smiled and said, you also loved your son, and you were also provoked by others. What's wrong with that? As he spoke, he glanced at his son in his arms. Xiao Bao snorted and turned his head away. He didn't care. In any case, he hated people who hurt his mother, so he didn't care about them. Mayan kisses his little face, her heart softening as if it could melt into water. After reuniting with Xiao Bao, she could better understand Mrs. Duan's despair and madness when she heard that her son had been killed. Chapter 16:06. When Xiao Bao heard this, he immediately turned his head back. Mother, are you in pain? Mu Yin says softly, Madame Duan's medicine must be very good. Take it for Nyangqin and say thank you in. Xiao Bao hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still took it shyly and thanked him. Then, he carefully bandages Mu Yan's wound. Her long eyelashes fluttered and her snow-white cheeks puffed up adorably. She was so adorable that she could melt people's hearts. Madame Duan felt as if she had been pardoned. She was extremely grateful to Mu Yin and quickly looked at her son. When Duanzi saw that his eldest brother had taken his mother's medicine, he smiled through his tears and allowed his mother to hold him in her arms. At the same time, he said in an old-fashioned tone, Mother, you're too stupid. Pretty sister looks so much like eldest brother. How could she be a bad person? How can you be provoked by others? As soon as her son said this, Mrs. Duan immediately thought that Mu Yin had killed her son. She had always had a fiery temper. With that thought, he immediately took out a whip from his storage space and lashed it at Lu Ruochen without hesitation. He drew with Yi Xiaoqin. Lu Ruo? He dodged quickly, but his clothes were torn, leaving a bloody gash on his arm. Yi Xiaoqin, on the other hand, was slapped in the face. Her pretty face was badly mutilated. Mrs. Duan was still angry. She slapped the two of them and said, You sowed discord and slandered me. My son almost ignored me because of you. I'll slap you to death. Mrs. Duan was still angry. This time, even Lu Ruochen was shocked. There was no way to hide. Her cultivation was now higher than Mrs. Duan's, so she could escape or resist. But the problem was that not only was Madame Duan here, but there were also the 5 patriarchs who were eyeing her covetously. If she showed her strength or attacked Madame Duan, the 5 family heads would not let her go. So Lu Ruo? He had no choice but to endure Madame Duan's whipping. The barbs on the steel whip cut into her flesh, causing heart-wrenching pain. He almost fainted. She could only sob, "I didn't mean it. Stop hitting me. Maybe I was wrong. I really didn't mean it. Miss June, since you can forgive Mrs. Duan, please forgive me." Madame Duan stops whipping and looks at Mayan. Mu Yin smiled coldly and said, "Wrong? Earlier on, you swore that you saw me kill people with my zither in the Danyang mountain range and kidnap a few young masters and young ladies. If you're mistaken, are you blind?" Lu Ruo? The expression on her face stiffened, and then she cried again. "Maybe I was dizzy that day, but I have no enmity with you. Why would I deliberately harm you? Family heads, I'm just concerned about the safety of the young masters and young ladies. Please spare me." In the past, as long as he did not reveal his true intentions, Lu Ruochen would not let him off easily. Showing weakness like this would gain everyone, especially the men's limitless companions. Now that she said this, tears began to fall again. Sure enough, many male cultivators revealed expressions of pity. Lu Ruo? He was overjoyed and was about to say some more pitiful words. She sees Xiao Bao suddenly fly out from Mayan's embrace and kicks her in the face. Chapter 16:07. Lu Ruo? He only felt pain on his face, and in an instant, it was burning hot. A few of his teeth loosened, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ruo? Dumbfounded, he opened his mouth, wanting to let out a painful groan. However, before she could make a sound, a few little turnips immediately rushed up and kicked her in the face. If boss says someone deserves to die, then that person deserves to die. Yes, kill her. Evil woman. Bitch. She even tried to seduce my father just now. Shameless. Fight, fight, fight. Although these little turnips were not as strong as Lu Ruochen, they were not as strong as Lu Ruochen. However, during this period of time in the Danyang mountain range, he had become very agile and strong. Lu Ruo? He dodged left and right, but he was still kicked and trampled all over by the little fellows. Unable to bear it any longer, she tried to resist, but her hands had not yet touched them. The little fellows immediately screamed and jumped away. They lay on the ground and wailed, "Grandpa, the bad woman hit me. Quickly take revenge for Su Su. Father, mother, quickly tear off that vixen's face." Lu Ruo? Just as he raised his hand, he felt his wrist being pinched by someone. In an instant, he heard a cracking sound. What followed was a bone-piercing pain. Her arm had been twisted into a fried dough twist. "Ah!" Lu Ruochen screamed like a pig being slaughtered. It rushed out of his mouth. "How dare you hit my precious granddaughter? I think you must be tired of living." Lu Ruo? Just as he recovered from the shock, he felt another sharp pain in his abdomen. His entire body was sent flying, crashing heavily into the corner of the stage. Wow, Grandpa is the best. Su Su admires Grandpa the most. Daddy is awesome. He taught that bad woman a lesson. The little turnips clapped their hands loudly, and the 5 patriarchs were all grinning from ear to ear. They wanted to reach out their hands to hug their babies, who knew that right after the little radishes clapped, they would immediately burn the bridge after crossing the river and turn around to ask Xiao Bao for credit. Boss, how do you think this kind of bad woman should be dealt with? If it were up to me, I'd say we should just kill them. I think we should strip her naked, hang her up and beat her. Only then can I vent my hatred." "That's right. Hang him up and beat him." "Boss, what do you think?" Lu Ruo? He got up from the ground dizzily. Her pitiful face immediately swelled up like a pig's head. Blood. mixed with snot and tears, spread on her face. The male cultivators who wanted to take pity on her just now all looked away in disgust. Mu Yin holds Xiao Bao's hand and slowly walks over to her. Looking down at her from above, she unhurriedly says, "We should be old acquaintances, right? Otherwise, a stranger wouldn't have spared no effort to kill me." Lu Ruo? A trace of panic flashed across his eyes. "What are you saying?" "I don't understand. You and I are really just strangers who met by chance. There is no need for me to deliberately frame you." Duan Xiangyang sneered. "Miss June, why are you listening to such a slut? Wouldn't it be better to just kill him? We'll have to see if you have the ability to use the people of the 5 great clans as a tool." As he spoke, he suddenly soared into the sky towards Lu Ruoxiang. He slammed the top of his head. By now, how could the patriarchs of the 5 great clans still not understand what's going on? They're being used as a tool, and their precious baby was almost turned into a chess piece in someone else's hands, directly pinched to death. Chapter 1608. At that time, these people's tricks would succeed. And the ones who set up this scheme must be Diyu Dao, Li Zuping, and this woman who had been trying to sow discord. Diyu Dao and Li Zuping might not be able to touch them for the time being, but that didn't mean they couldn't touch a woman. However, Duan Xiangyang's attack had just landed on Lu Ruochen. Then, he felt a huge wave of spiritual energy assaulting his head. His expression changed, and he quickly dodged. When he came back to his senses, Lu Ruo was already dead. Li Zuping had already pulled her to his side. "You will Lu Ruoyan?" He handed it to the 2 nascent soul realm cultivators behind him. She immediately expressed her gratitude to him. However, as soon as he turned around, Li Zuping revealed a cold smile. This was the precious medicinal catalyst that he wanted to hand over to Tian Yimin. How could he let her die so casually? "Hall Master Li, what are you doing?" Duan Xiangyang and Lu Junjiang's expressions were extremely ugly. Li Zuping righteously says, "Just now, this woman testified that my primordial zither is June Mayans. Isn't this slandering this hall master? So even if someone wants to deal with this woman, only I can deal with her. Stop distorting the truth." "Luo," you said angrily. "Now it's proven that my 6th senior sister didn't practice any demonic techniques and sacrifice children. But you can't move this zither. Is that not enough to prove that this zither belongs to my 6th senior sister? Quickly return my 6th senior sister's zither." How could he possibly return the divine artifact that he had obtained? Li Zuping sneered. "I can't activate this primordial zither only because Jun Mayan used a witchcraft spell to pollute the zither's body. Now, I'm not the only one who can't activate it. No one else can either. The zither is in Lan Huahong's hands, and Lan Huahong uses his spiritual power to fiddle with it." Sure enough, the Tianmo Qin only emits an ear-piercing sound, without the slightest reaction. Lan Feng couldn't help but give it a try as well. However, he discovered that his spiritual energy was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no reaction at all. Li Zuping immediately laughed. "See? Jun Mayan had used an evil method to defile this divine tool. Apart from her, no one else could move it. If you can find a second person to drive this zither, I'll admit that this is not my Evolution Moon Sex primordial zither." Li Zuping's words were reasonable, and many people revealed doubtful expressions. Even if it was a divine tool, it was strange that no one else could use it. "There's no second person who can drive this zither? What if I can?" Suddenly, a tender voice sounded. Everyone looked over and found that the one who spoke was a little boy who was only about 5 years old. His features were as exquisite as a painting, and a pair of icy blue eyes stared coldly at Li Zuping. He was clearly just a child, but Li Zuping felt an inexplicable pressure from those eyes. But very quickly, he regained his senses and laughed out loud. "You? A child like you wants to control a divine artifact?" Many people on the Tai Square also laughed kindly. This little boy was extremely beautiful, more beautiful than any other child they had ever seen. Moreover, His temperament was extraordinary, and his talent was outstanding. But no matter how outstanding he was still just a child. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator couldn't move a divine tool. Wouldn't he be dreaming if he wanted to move it? Even Nailan Ching and the others couldn't help but advise Mayan. Miss June, there will be a backlash if the divine tool isn't used properly. Gongzi is still young. You mustn't let him try it. Chapter 1609. Muyan couldn't help but reveal a smile. She looked at Li Zuping and said unhurriedly, "Is what Hall Masterly said true this time? After all, you always go back on your word, and your words are like farts. Previously, you even said that if you couldn't activate this zither, it would prove that it wasn't a divine artifact of your Flowing Moon sect. Now you're saying it so confidently. Don't tell me you're going to turn around and treat it as a fart and deny it." Ha ha! The square was filled with laughter. Now that you mention it, I remember now. He did say that he would definitely be able to activate the primordial zither, but there wasn't even the slightest reaction. That's right. Now that he's boasting, he's not going to go back on his words, right? Li Zuping's face alternated between green and white, and a cold light shot out of his eyes as if he was about to devour someone. This June Mayan, she's made him lose face twice. All right. Since she wanted to court death, she couldn't blame him for being impolite. Wait a minute. Let's see if this woman can still smile when she sees her son bleeding from all 7 apertures in front of her. Li Zuping took the zither from Lan Huahong's hands and secretly touched the strings. In an instant, a dark green light flashed on the zither and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Then he slowly handed the zither to Xiaobao. All right, give it a try. As long as you can control this zither, I will believe that it is not our Flow Moon sect's divine weapon. Xiaobao takes the Tian Mo Qin. The Tian Mo Qin's body is a size bigger than him. At this time, it's being hugged by 2 short arms, looking somewhat interesting and indescribably cute. The eyes of the people on the Tai Square were filled with red hearts. They wished they could snatch this doll back and hide it. Ayaya, June Mine's looks are already enough to topple the world. How could the baby she gave birth to be this cute? However, when they thought of how such a cute doll might be devoured by that divine tool, all of their hearts immediately started to throb. The patriarchs of the 5 great clans also took out medicine from their storage rings, waiting for Xiaobao to be injured so that they could immediately treat him. On the contrary, the 5 little turnips worshipped their boss unconditionally. They all applauded and shouted, "Boss is mighty! Boss, you can do it!" Xiaobao glances at Mayan, his small hands slowly strumming the strings of the Tian Mo Qin. Clang! It was just a sound, but the spiritual power in the air suddenly fluctuated violently. Immediately afterwards, 3 cold lights are emitted from the Tian Mo Qin, falling on the tournament stage. Bang, bang, bang. 3 consecutive loud sounds rang out, and the arena shattered into pieces. When the smoke and dust settled, there were actually 3 large craters in the center of the arena. However, Lil Bao didn't stop there, and he pushed with his little hand. The melodious sound of the zither flowed out. Although the sound of his zither was not as pleasant to listen to as Mu Yan's, like the sounds of nature, it was still quite good. Soon, the people present realized that some of the people who had just exhausted their spiritual power had their spiritual power slowly filled up again. Even those who had not consumed their spiritual power felt refreshed, and their eyes and ears became clearer. This was especially the case for the little radishes. They all revealed an infatuated expression, feeling that their dantian was full and full. Their entire bodies felt as if they were submerged in warm water, indescribably comfortable. Shin musician skills. Sound breath. Although Xiaobao could only cast a low level, but this was caused by a 5-year-old child. Chapter 1610. Long live boss. I feel so comfortable now. I think I can still go and fight a vicious beast. Yes. Just then, a teenager wearing a loose blue robe and a mask hurries to Xiao Bao's side. The music of enrich flows in his ears, slowly calming down his breathing and uneasiness. Sensing the teenager's approach, Xiao Bao stops, stroking the Tian Mo Chin, and asks, "Did you find the things?" The teenager heavily nods and says in a low, husky voice, "Found it." Immediately, his gaze seems to be dipped in poison as he looks towards Lan Huahong, Li Zuping, and Lan Feng. Feeling the teenager's gaze, Lan Feng looks over in astonishment, but he can't move his eyes away. Who is this teenager? Why does he give him an inexplicable sense of familiarity? At this time, Li Zuping and Lan Huahong don't notice this teenager at all. Instead, they're looking at Xiao Bao with ashen faces. They never thought that a child would be able to use a godly tool that several nascent soul cultivators couldn't even activate. Xiao Bao's blue eyes coldly look at Li Zuping. "Can I use this zither like this?" He's obviously a 5-year-old baby, but when he says these words, his body erupts with a noble aura that makes people want to submit. Li Zuping is speechless for a while, and even Lan Huahong is intimidated. Luo Yu and the others immediately clap and laugh. What did someone just say? As long as there's a second person who can use this zither, it means that it's not your evolution moon sex primordial zither. Since it's not your evolution moon sex thing, it naturally belongs to my sixth sister. A thunderous round of applause erupted from the spectator stands. Everything that just happened was full of ups and downs, with thousands of twists and turns. Just a little bit more and Jun Mayan and the Carefree team would have died, but they didn't expect that they would actually turn the tide. Li Zuping's complexion turns ugly as he listens to the laughter around him and the fingers pointing at them. But when he looks at Xiao Bao, there's a flash of coldness in his eyes. Laugh, laugh, laugh to your heart's content. In a while, you'll have time to cry. Lu Hongyuan and the others excitedly rush to Xiao Bao. Boss, what kind of zither is this? Why is it so powerful?" "That's right. I felt so comfortable just now. Boss, how about you play another song?" As he spoke, Murong Hao, who was the most mischievous, reached out to touch the strings. However, Xiao Bao grabbed his hand before he could even touch the strings. Murong Hao blinked and looked at Xiao Bao, feeling wronged. "Boss, I can't touch this zither. Can I? I really want to touch it." "Yes, you can't touch it," Xiao Bao said expressionlessly, "because he smeared poison on it." His chubby little finger pointed at Li Zuping. The few little fellows were still in a daze, but the 5 patriarchs were shocked. They hurriedly rushed over and held their treasures in their arms. Li Zuping's expression changed greatly as he stared at Xiao Bao in disbelief, and he almost blurted out, "How did you know?" Fortunately, he reacted quickly and asked fiercely, "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm the dignified Flow Moon Sex Hall Master. How can I be slandered by a child like you?" Chapter 1611. Li Zuping's face turned red. "Why should I listen to your orders?" Mu Yin scoffed. "Looks like Hall Master Li doesn't dare. How about this? You find a subordinate to touch the zither strings. Isn't that the same?" Li Zuping gritted his teeth, his eyes spitting fire, but he didn't say anything. "You don't even dare to send a subordinate." Mu Yin sighs and shakes her head. "So, Hall Master Li admits that the zither strings are poisoned." This time, the people in the square exploded. What the hell? Not only did he fail to seize it by force, he even tried to poison it? Furthermore, they poisoned such a cute little child. My God, are they still human? What Flow Moon sect? What Lan Royal clan? They're too despicable. How could they be so insane? But isn't that kid fine? Could it be that there is no poison on the zither? Li Zuping took a deep breath, and a hint of suspicion arose in his heart. Could it be that he hadn't applied enough poison? Otherwise, how could the child be fine? Moreover, he would never hand over this divine tool to anyone no matter what. He turned to look at a golden core cultivator at the side. "You, Go and bring the zither over for this hall master. A look of hesitation and fear appeared on the golden core cultivator's face, but under Li Zuping's tyranny, he had no choice but to slowly move over. Seeing that he wanted to grab his zither, Xiaobao did not resist and allowed his hand to press on the zither. However, just as the golden core cultivator was about to take the zither away, his body suddenly twitched and he let out a shrill scream. Then, he fell to the ground with blood flowing out of his orifices. It was not just a little bit of blood that was flowing out of his 7 orifices, but a large amount of blood that was gushing out crazily. In just a short moment, a pool of blood had gathered beneath the golden core cultivator, and his body had also turned from burly and majestic to shriveled like a zombie. He had actually died in just a few breaths of time. Everyone was stupefied by this scene. Mu Rongbai's complexion was deathly pale as he pulled his precious son closer to his chest. That had been a close shave. The one who had almost been reduced to such a terrifying state was his halberd. Seeing this scene, Mu Yan's expression also became incomparably cold. She had long known that Xiaobao's physique was special, and that ordinary poisons could do nothing to him. But what if? At the thought of someone trying to poison her treasure, a bone-chilling, killing intent rose in her heart. Hall Masterly, what else do you have to say now? Li Zuping's face alternated between green and white. He was indescribably shocked, but he couldn't say a word. The 5 clan heads were finally angered. You dare to plunder our azure blue world, and even want to harm innocent children. Just a mere flowing moon sect. Do you really think that we are afraid of you? Mu Rongbai sneered and said, I'll contact the Patriarch tomorrow and report everything your Evolution Moon sect has done. I don't believe that there will be no one who will uphold justice for our azure blue realm in the face of justice. I will also contact the ancestor of my Nalan family tomorrow. Our Duan clan's ancestor will definitely not sit idly by. Listening to the unceremonious words of the 5 clan heads, a trace of panic finally flashed through Li Zuping's eyes. The Evolution Moon sect could act like a tyrant in the azure blue realm, but in the purple cloud realm, it was really nothing. Otherwise, as the dignified hall master of the Evolution Moon sect, he wouldn't have become a prince's follower. Chapter 16:12. Especially those old monsters. Every one of them has reached the crossing tribulation stage. Any casual move from them isn't something that the Flowing Moon sect can contend against. He really didn't expect that things would turn out this way. It should have been easy to snatch a magic weapon from the hands of a young female cultivator from the azure blue realm. At this moment, Lan Huahong suddenly laughs wildly. Even if this zither doesn't belong to the Flowing Moon sect, so what? Who dares to refuse what this solitude wants? And this woman, this solitude, also wants her. He points at mine. Who dares to resist? Tomorrow, this solitude will lead the Lan royal family's 1,000,000 cavalry to trample over your 3 tattered academies. Your Highness, Lan Feng says in disbelief, how can you say such a thing? The face of the Lan royal family. Before he can finish, Lan Huahong has already lifted his foot and ruthlessly kicks him in the stomach. Does this solitude have the right to interrupt when this solitude is speaking? This solitude is a prince of the royal family with a noble bloodline. All of you trash here are merely ants under this solitude's feet. Those who obey this solitude will prosper. Those who defy this solitude will perish. Choose for yourselves. The scene is completely silent, but many people have angry expressions on their faces. However, for a moment, no one dares to speak. Because the Lan royal family represents one of the peak forces of the Ziyun realm. As long as they stomp their feet, half of the entire azure blue realm can be flattened. How can they have the courage to resist? Even the 5 clan heads are unable to restrain their anger. But in the end, they don't dare to jump out. Lan Huahong looks at the tens of thousands of people present who are as silent as cicadas in winter, and his face shows an insolent and proud smile. He slightly spreads his hands, feeling the pleasure of being the center of attention. Everyone is merely an animal or an ant that he can trample at will under his feet. He can get any kind of woman he wants, any kind of magic weapon he wants. He can take it for himself. This is the feeling of being a prince of the Lan family. It's really too wonderful, too intoxicating. At this moment, a low but clear voice rings out. Animal Hong, who gave you the right to call yourself this solitude? Hearing the 3 words Animal Hong, Lan Huahong suddenly opens his eyes, revealing a frightened expression. He almost instinctively screams, "Who said I'm Animal Hong? I'm not. Who are you? Get out here." Lan Feng, Li Zuping and the others also heard this sound. Li Zuping and the others were scared out of their wits. Their eyes quickly scanned their surroundings. Lan Feng's expression changed drastically. Why did that voice sound so similar, so similar? Moreover, why did this name sound so familiar? Just as Lan Huahong turned pale with fright, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of him. Then, something was ruthlessly stabbed into the skin on the back of his neck. Lan Huahong screamed and fiercely flung him backwards. The figure was immediately flung out and fell to the ground, letting out a muffled groan. "Assassin! There's an assassin!" Lan Huahong roared. "Quickly kill that assassin!" Lan Feng instinctively protected his master. He grabbed the person who had fallen to the ground and locked his neck tightly. However, just as he was about to break the assassin's neck, he suddenly met a pair of familiar eyes. That pair of eyes stared fixedly at him. The bottom of the eyes were clear and limpid, carrying an inherent nobility. When the eyes looked at him, there was a trace of childish admiration. Lan Feng was instantly stunned. This child's eyes, this youth's eyes, why are they so similar to His Highness? Chapter 16:13. Lan Feng subconsciously glances at Lan Huahong. Isn't His Highness right here? Lan Huahong clutches the back of his neck and looks up to see the youth being choked by Lan Feng. The youth's face is wearing a mask. It's the person who was just standing behind Xiao Bao. It's just that in order to successfully launch a sneak attack just now, he had taken off the loose robe that concealed his figure. Therefore, his current height and build are on full display. As soon as Lan Huahong sees the youth's figure, he's scared out of his wits. He almost screams at the top of his lungs, "Kill him, quickly kill him for me." Lan Feng, Gu is ordering you. Do you hear me? Li Zuping, quickly kill him. After Li Zuping sees the youth's build clearly, his face also changes. Without thinking, he slaps his palm towards the youth. This palm contains an incomparably powerful spiritual power. If it hits, the youth won't even have the chance to say a word before he dies. Lan Feng is still in a daze and hasn't reacted yet. By the time he realizes that Li Zuping is going to kill him, it's already too late to take the youth to dodge. The little radishes close their eyes in fear. "Ah, little brother Lan, be careful. Little brother Lan, don't die." Clang! The sound of a zither resounds. Mine's hand presses on the strings, accurately aiming in the direction of the blue-clothed youth. As the sound of the zither resounds, an invisible shield falls on the blue-clothed youth's body. Divine hand weaves the heavens, activates. Li Zuping only feels that his palm has hit an invisible wall, and he's shaken back several steps. His chi and blood tumble, and it takes a long time for him to calm down. He fiercely glares at Mayan, his eyes filled with killing intent and even more greed. It's this woman who ruined his good deed again. It's simply not an exaggeration to dismember her body into 10,000 pieces. But at the same time, he covets that zither even more. What kind of artifact is this? A casual sound from the zither can actually force him, a nascent soul stage cultivator, to retreat. If he can get this zither, but the most important thing right now is to solve the immediate danger. Li Zuping's heart shudders. Without giving anyone time to react, he gives the 2 nascent soul cultivators a meaningful look. What are you waiting for? Someone is trying to assassinate His Highness. Why aren't you quickly putting him in the array? The two nascent soul cultivators immediately rush forward with Li Zuping. Lan Feng's expression changed drastically. He let go of the youth and circulated the spiritual energy in his body, sending a palm strike at the three of them. With a loud bang, the earth trembled. Li Zuping and the two nascent soul cultivators simultaneously retreated 10 steps back. Lan Feng's complexion was deathly pale, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Lan Feng, what are you doing? Was he going to protect the assassin who tried to assassinate Her Highness? What are your intentions? Li Zuping scolded loudly, immediately taking the moral high ground. At this moment, Lan Feng was in a daze. He had unknowingly made his move just now. He could not allow them to harm the young man behind him. However, this young man was really the murderer of Her Highness. Lan Feng, you old fart. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and finish off that assassin. Lan Huahong roared hysterically. Lan Feng, I'm warning you. If you don't make a move, I'll report to my royal father when I return that you're dissatisfied and plotting a rebellion. Kill him now, do you hear me? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.